Good afternoon, everybody. We didn't practice, so if I make a mistake or two with the PowerPoint, you have to forgive me. But we'll get started. Maybe. I was going to push the arrow to move forward. So, the clicker to the right. There we go. All right. Well, we have an interesting topic, I think. Tack coat, bond coat, underseal. What does all that mean? And it probably could mean something different to each of you depending on how long you've been around the industry. But I guess the first question that hopefully we'll answer today is, does it make a difference whether you apply a product that gives you a tack, or I'm going to use tack and bond synonymously, or if you use a product that actually seals the existing pavement and gives you a bond. And then the second question is, do we have bonding issues on the products that we use here in TxDOT? So we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to call them new materials and technology. They've been out really for probably the last 6 or 7 years, and we've had the good fortune here at Oldcastle Materials. We're a nationwide company, and we've got things going all over the United States, so I've had the good fortune to be able to travel around different parts of the country and get involved in research that our company's doing, as well as I can't say enough good things about our partnership that we've had with the agency there in Austin and also in the Waco districts. I applaud TxDOT for being innovative and creative and looking at these new products. And as a contractor, I think it's the right way to go. We're trying to do what's best for the industry, and we want to give the customers, the people of the state of Texas, and you all who represent TxDOT, a product that will go 10 or 12 years with minimal or no maintenance. And we believe it's highly probable and likely, and we've got cases where it's happened. And one of the things, we've got some folks here with TxAPA. We're going to start rewarding and awarding and recognizing projects that go 10 or 12 years without maintenance or any significant maintenance. And part of it is going to be what was just talked about. We want to focus on using recycled products because it makes sense, it's environmentally smart, it's sustainable, it's a good use of our natural resources, and some of us believe that a pre-coated rock makes better hot mix than a non-pre-coated rock anyway, but you have to do a few things differently than what we've always done to make it work. So anyway, we're going to talk about conventional tack coats, underseals, track-resistant asphalt interlayer. That's a trail, spray pavers. Some of y'all are probably very familiar with them, some may not be. So I'm going to show some pictures, and again, we didn't practice, but we've got some questions, and I don't know if it'll come up as cool as Edith's did, but that was very cool. I like that. So here we go. We always start out with a safety brief at our company. We work outside. We have a lot of people. Our company has about 1,300 people that work in the heavy highway industry in Texas, and so we're always thinking about safety. So I think I had asked some questions about this. I was going to let each of y'all do a little risk assessment. And so when we talk about risk assessment, what we try to do is identify hazards, and then we look at what's our exposure to the hazards that we identify, and then we try to mitigate them out through good practices or engineering. So anyway, there's a little formula that we use. Identify the hazards, identify the exposure to the hazards, and then let's mitigate it out. And we try to take our risk down. That's what we try to do. So let's see if there's a question here or not. No, there's not. So, pardon me? One more? Okay, so that's for the second one. So I'm going to go back up one page, okay? But on the safety, Richard started us off with you guys working here. What I want to encourage you all to do, if you're out in the field with crews that are paving, is engage with them. We have people that are focused on doing their job, and we want our supervisors to actually supervise. And through my career, some of the best inspectors that I've worked around were what we would consider to be tough inspectors, because they cared. They cared about what we were doing, they cared about us being safe, and they cared about the product that we were producing. So I just want to encourage those of you that are engineers and that have inspectors that work for you, get them engaged with your contractors. So this is a picture of some work that we did in the Austin district. And this is a picture of a membrane. It's either going to be a tack, a bond, or an underseal membrane. And you guys, I'm going to give you a little bigger picture again. Take a look at that. And then you guys at your tables, answer the question what you think that is, tack, bond, or underseal. Is that all right? Yeah. And Edith, how do I know when their time's up? Do I just move? Okay. Okay, good. So most people are answering tack, and that's a good answer. For me, tack and bond are fairly synonymous, like I said before. But this application is much greater than what traditionally we have done for TxDOT in a long time. We're putting a lot more product out there. Here you can see that this product, I hope you can see, there's actually some pickup on that's an MTV tire. Those are big tires, big heavy equipment. And you can see some material. Is there a pointer here? Probably. Anyway, there's some material that's picking up. So what would you say the application rate is? That's the pointer? Excellent. Yeah, so you can see right there, there's pickup. You can see the tires are tracking, but the good news here is if you're familiar with what we used to do, like with some products, it actually picks up completely off the pavement surface. And so what I notice, I've become a crack expert, or a self-proclaimed crack expert, and on pavements. And the best time for me to look at pavement cracks is after rain, by the way. But what I noticed, and I think some of my other fellow interested nerds on paving notice, is a lot of times you'll see cracks in the wheel path, and sometimes we think, well, it's a dry mix or it's a mix is failing. I have a different theory and opinion, and I'll share it probably as we go through. So here, you guys have selected, 48% of you have selected 1300s or 12.500s, which is a very good guess, or a very accurate guess, because we were shooting that at 1300s is what we were shooting. And that's an emulsified asphalt. And I'm just checking myself here. That's an emulsified asphalt product. It went down very, very well. But let's look at the next picture. So for y'all, what is an acceptable time period for these products to cure out so you can drive on them and they can be non-tracking? What would you be happy with if you're an owner agency, or put a different hat, if you're a contractor? What do you want? Yeah, well, I'm with most of y'all. I want to be in that lower, that 15 to 30. I want to be on the 15-minute side, as quick as possible. And it's so nice when you put the product out that traffic can run through it, and they're not tracking it all over the world, and it's staying on the road. And then I think we're getting a better composite pavement structure by using these products. And that's what we're after. So here's another, I'm trying to give you all some pictures of it's an amazing surface, in my opinion. It's extremely well distributed. It's well coated. The water has come off of it, and you can walk on it, and then when you apply the hot mix on top of it, it sticks. And another benefit, in my opinion, it's not wicking up into the pavement. You've got more glue between the existing surface and the new pavement, which again, in my opinion, and I've heard and I used the picture of composite plywood. If those layers weren't glued together, you'd have a lot less strength. And thin lifts, which we'll get to, behave much better. So this product it's got full coverage. It's not being picked up by the MTVs, and there's no pickup on your boot. So I say all those are correct, and they're all important. And I think here, what I was asking is, oh, here we go. What's the total shot rate would you recommend if you were out on the job and if you could see this pavement better, then you could make a better decision. And that's so important, in my opinion, when, you know, engineers have to get out there and they have to look at what we've got, and surface conditions are extremely important. But this is actually a very tight surface, and so it sets up really well for that to be not only a bond, but and it doesn't need it because that's a tight, it's actually a subsurface material that's on top of additional layers of hot mix. So we've got a 1-inch dense grade D and then a 1-inch TOM that's highly crack resistant, layered in here on top of additional pavement. So this is a very good pavement structure, in my opinion. And when we did the work, it's going on, it was November of 11 when we did it, and we did it in the winter, and odds were against us. It was a hard pin type material. We were worried about cracking, but again, TxDOT Austin stepped out with us, and we did this work, and it's performing extremely well. So kudos to the TxDOT Austin district. We started out at 1300s. It was we did that to see how high we could go. The manufacturer was recommending a max of a 1/10, and when we finally got done, for the most part, we were shooting around 800s, and it was an emulsified hard pin product, and it worked great. And there has been no delamination to my knowledge, and you know, I want to encourage not only the construction group, but the maintenance group. We want to be partners on this stuff, and testing needs to go on. You know, the shear bond strength testing needs to continue, because this is a really good example of thin overlays of composite mix of a very sustainable, perpetual pavement design. Any other questions there? And that's no, these are not residual. I like to talk residual, but we said we were going to talk in total shot rates here. So it's an emulsion, so you can do the math. It's actually a lower residual. But so I'm impressed with the coverage there. And this is an emulsified product, and we'll get into hot product, and then when we talk the numbers, it's residual. But this is an emulsified product.
Mike, we need you to repeat the questions, please.
Okay. How far back? Just here?
Here.
Okay. So the question is, what total shot rate would you recommend on this underlying surface if you were applying a thin overlay mix? And again, that's Mike's definition. Anything less than 1.5 inches to me is thin. Okay? 2 inches and better is a good thick course, and you can overcome some irregularities in your base or your subsurface conditions. But thin overlays, to me, what would you guys recommend there? On that type, and I'm calling this the subsurface pavement. I gave you all lots of hints. It's a very tight, you can't see it, but that's a very good level up course of mix right there. So most people are saying 43% are saying 1500s. I would say that's too high. We shot at 800, Stephen, and that's what it looked like. It was very rich, and for the surface we were placing, laying on top of, it worked extremely well. So your contractors can work with y'all too and discuss this stuff in your pre-paved meetings or out on the job site, or like we did. Let's try one thing and let's see how it works, and let's try something else until we tune it out. Good judgment and experience pays off. We good, Richard? Oh. Oh, I'm sorry. I got you. All right. So Stephen asked me what rate we shot, and the answer was 800s, and it was total shot rate. So if you would have multiply that by about 60 to 65%, that'd be your resid. So I'm showing you another, we're talking about, that's a new product, that non-tracking emulsified. It's a fairly new product. I'm a big fan of it. This is conventional Underseal, and it just so happens this is a frontage road on I-35, and so you can see our aggregate, and we applied. It was actually a hot asphalt that we applied. It's a real good looking seal coat. To me, it's a little thick though. I like to see it more popcorn, not so solid, because again, what I'm looking for not only is that we want to seal the surface, which this surface, that looks like reflective cracks from jointed concrete pavement to me, and it's really in pretty good shape. The shape of the road was good, which makes it really good for us when we come in here. We can pick it up. We can actually put the material in a windrow and pick up 99% of the mix, and I'll show just a little dribble that we left. But we can get it. I'm going to back up because I know we're talking about tack, and bond and underseal, but to get the really good job, the subsurface preparation has to be in really good shape for us to give you the best product. And we don't have time right now. We can go into that as to why I have that opinion. But anyway, conventional type process here. We did a chip seal, standard distributor, chip spreader, grade 5 aggregate, and hot asphalt, and got it out in front, and then we started the paving train right behind it. So I'm showing this just to show you that we can't pick 100% up in most cases, especially if you're on a chip seal. And some of the things you have to watch for on a chip seal, in my opinion, is you don't want to get too thick. You don't want excess rock. It's better to have a little less rock as long as you're not picking any asphalt up. I think I've got a question coming up here. Let me ask it before I don't see the question. So I was going to ask y'all, what are the risks or what are the challenges when you see this type of an operation? What are you looking for? And since I didn't put the questions up there, I'm going to just say what I look for is the rock heavy? Is it popcorn, or is it too light? And there really is no too light unless it's picking up. So if it starts to pick up and I'm dropping clumps of aggregate and asphalt, then it's too light, and I need to adjust my shot rate. Because the last thing we want, especially in a thin mix, are clumps of aggregate and asphalt that will, if we don't pick them out, if we don't see them, we'll either drag and tear the mat, or we'll leave them and then they will pop out. So you get pop outs that occur. I'm showing this because this is another product that we're considering new technology, and it's a hot applied non-tracking tack, and it is awesome if a few things happen. Let me see if I have any questions, and I do not. So I'm going to make comments. You can see that this is a milled surface. Milled surfaces, it works great if the milled surface is clean. If you have, and by the way, none of this works very good, in my opinion, and in my experience, if it's dusty. And sometimes you can think you got it clean. You can mill, you can put a sweeper truck on it, vacuum truck on it, and there's no dust, but there's moisture. And so what we've done, what we try to do, especially with the Waco district, is we mill, and there's even different types of milling, micro milling or conventional milling. Surface, again, is important. But when you mill, it's really nice to let traffic run on it for 24 hours or so, because that, once it dries, the traffic kicks up that dust film, and then you can come back with a sweeper or vacuum truck and you can get it cleaned up. And when you do get it cleaned up, you get this kind of product. That is hot asphalt. These are tractor trailers with live bottoms, and then we've got an MTV, and then we've got a paver, and that material is not picking up. And this was, again, I don't think I asked the question, but that was shot around in the 15 to 1800s of a gallon per square yard, and that's residual. That's on the ground. It's there. I showed the distributor truck because, again, as a contractor, we typically have quite a few of these. We do underseal, we do priming, we do tacking, so a lot of us have those. So it's nice to use that, but with a hot applied, you're going to put a lot more stress on your equipment because we apply this at around 370-ish degrees Fahrenheit. Am I running out, Dave, of time? So I'm showing here, these are spray pavers. We've used this product. It's a RoadTech product with a RoadTech pickup, and we've also used this Caterpillar product, and we typically use a RoadTech or a Weiler pickup machine. They both work well. The conventional chip seal works well, and the new, we're calling them new, emulsified and hot applied products work very well. in my opinion. And I think time is going to tell us that that's the case. These are just a few projects that I just picked. The end results are really good. And it's something we can be proud of, the state can be proud of, and the citizens can be proud of. And now I'm going to turn it over to Gisel.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you guys about what the Austin District is doing with new specs that we have. Last year, we had the division talking about tack bonding and sealing, and now we come back again and tell you, have the same pretty similar topic. And I guess the question is, why are we still putting so much emphasis on these materials? And now I would like just to put my pavement engineer hat on, and I just want to explain, when we do our pavement designs, we assume that all our hot mix layers, they're just acting as one uniform layer, right? So if we're making more than one layer, we want them to be bond. And then if we're overlaying an old pavement, we want the old pavement to be sealed, because we don't want any cracks. We want it to be permeable, and then we want to have enough bonding there with our new pavement, with our new hot mix layer. So that's why it's just so important. Before I start my part, I want to have a disclaimer, because maybe the information they're going to present here are some numbers that you're going to see here. If you're from another district, you're going to go, nah, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Or even if you're from the division, you're going to say, right, Robert, you're going to be, she doesn't know what she's talking about. So this is based on the Austin District experience. Now, these two new specs, we're pretty excited. They're new. There's two new projects coming up with these special specs pretty soon. So I'm pretty sure these two special specs that were made as a one-time use may change pretty soon. But we wanted to present them to you in case that you feel that you need something like that in your district. So why? Why special specs? Because we got, like as Mike said, we have new materials, which are not that new. But we have, before we only had the seal coat and tack, right? So we had two options, we tack or we underseal. And then we started getting new materials, and we wanted to give the option to the contractor to use maybe the spray paver or the trackless material, depends on variability, or if they had the equipment. And then that, giving them more option, will make, well, we may get a better deal, right? As long as does the job. So we used to have this general note under item 316 when we had an underseal in our project. So what happened, that general note started getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and as you know, every time the general note gets too big, it just creates more confusion. And then we were referencing to other special specs for the membrane. So we decided to try this, separate this general note and add it as a special spec, one for underseal and one for bonding. So we got 3041 for our underseal and 3042 for our bonding course. So we have tack, bonding, and underseal. And this is one of the things, yeah, maybe we don't agree we need to separate bonding and tack coat, but I can explain you on this slide why we did it. We're still using tack coat. We still require to tack your layers when you have new layer on top of another, when you're overlaying on top of a new hot mix layer. You still require, under your hot mix item, to tack your layer, right, before you place your new layer. And then we have these two new special specs when you're overlaying an old pavement. So we have the bonding course. It gives you the option of using either a trackless material or the spray paver. Now, if you're using the trackless material, you need to go to this MPL list for trackless that the construction division maintains, and they approve the materials. And then you have to see if it's the material that you're planning to use is under tack. Pretty much it's gonna, if you have any of these materials, it's approved, so you can use it as a bonding material for our spec. Or you can use the membrane. And then the spec includes a section on road preparation, and then we include minimum application rates, and then the use of the shear test. And how we pay by the volume of the asphalt of the material used. And then our Underseal course spec is pretty similar, but now for your trackless, you have the seal. You have to use, if you see the seal, is going to be a hot asphalt, a trackless material. So in this case, it's just going to be these two options. Normally, it will be a higher rate. And then again, it has all this additional information. And the measurement is going to be by volume of the asphalt used. And then if you use a seal coat under item 316, you're going to, the aggregate is going to be subsidiary. So here's our rates. When we were writing the special specs, we went and presented to our industry. We had 2 PIQ meetings, and we talked about this, and we got their inputs. We had to make multiple changes, and one of the things that were making a little bit of confusion is, well, is this your rates are net value or total value, or so we decided just to go for net value. That's why they're, we thought that this was the better option. Again, maybe you may think that's not the best option. But at this point, our special specs, they're all, these rates are by net value of the material. Again, these are minimum volumes, the minimum rates. The engineer is still going to establish the rate that they're going to apply. These are just minimums. The shear test. The shear test is a way just to measure the bonding, the shear strength on those 2 layers. TTI developed this test. They have tested. Okay, they have tested a lot of samples from multiple districts. Loreto has been sending a lot of samples to TTI. They have tested a lot of test sections from our district too. At this point, we're happy to announce that we have the setup in our district, so we're ready for those special specs that are going to come up with those projects. We're going to be able to run our own samples. At this point, the special specs includes the requirement of sending us the samples, but they're still for informational purposes. Hopefully, at one point, we'll be able to have a minimum requirement. But since we don't feel we're ready yet, we don't know what that requirement will be, if it's going to be different from the bonding for the Underseal. We're not sure yet, so right now at this point, we have it for informational purposes. And then how to use them? Well, again, you still have to tack your new layers. These 2 special specs will be required when we overlay all pavement layers. And again, it's by engineering judgment, right? You need to know your road. You need to know if you need a bonding or you need to underseal it. And this is just a general guidance for our pavement engineers. Just our default will be bonding unless you have notch and widen projects, mill surfaces where you have a lot of cracks, and when you're doing mill and PFC overlays. So I guess we're going to take this time to, we have a few minutes, I guess, left for questions, either for Mike or for myself. Yes?
My question is,
Well, oh yes, if we had some from the contractor feeling that it was unfair of using this approach of having the special spec, and we just had to have that conversation with the contractors, and the PAQ was a great opportunity to present it to them and make it real clear that we're really doing it to give them the option of using any material that they want to use. We don't want to, I think it's better when you have more options, right? If you have more access to this material, of course it's going to be better for the whole district and the project. So that's how I guess it has to be communication, and at one point, there was confusion, and they were thinking that maybe by including the shear test right away and not really knowing what their materials were performing, they were thinking, well, maybe my material is not going to perform right, and maybe that test is not really showing what my material is doing. So that's why we decided just to step back, leave it informational. We still want to get some information on how the test is doing, but that's the thing. With this shear test, we need actual samples from the project. And the only way to do it is to have it as a special spec that is requiring them to send the samples at the beginning of the project. So that was a long, long answer to your question. Hopefully I answered your question. Do we have time for one more?
So really, I just want to let y'all know that we did a project with TTI where research, we did a seal coat, trackless tack, bottom block, all on US 79, going out of our district this summer. So we'll be seeing results, and basically we were looking at what the best approach was and if there is really a difference or a benefit to doing one over the other.
Okay, so he was making a comment that in the Bryan District on 79, they did a test similar to what was done in the Austin District, where we used different products on the same highway, different rates, different surface conditions is what we did. We had milled surface, virgin old surface, and then pavement repair surfaces. So we had 3 different surfaces, multiple different rates, different supplier products to see what the results were down the road, and I'm glad y'all are doing that. Again, I want to encourage other people and the DOT to do that, help us get information, and then we're not just guessing, we're verifying what we think is going on. So thank you.